Hi, I'm Melanie Bunn. I'm a nurse and I'm a consultant with Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. And they have asked me to spend some time talking with you about some issues about communication. Specifically, how do we respond to some of those complicated questions that people living with dementia often ask? So, what kind of questions am I talking about? What do you say when your dad says, "Why don't you ever come to visit?" And you come every single day. You have been there every single day for the last 3 months. What do you say when your dad says that? Do you say, "I was here every day for the last 3 months"? Do you say, "Well, let me pull out this notebook because I signed this notebook every time I come. So look at this notebook where I've signed every single day"? Or I signed a calendar page every single day when I come. Do you try something like pulling in a staff member to say, "Now you've seen me here every day. You're here every time I come. Don't you tell my dad I come here every day to see him?" Or do you try to distract him and say, "Oh, don't worry about that, Dad. Let's go do something else"? That's an example of a hard question to answer in the moment. Here's another one. Your client tells you they want to go home. So, some of the common answers to this question are something like, "You are home, you live with us now, and we're so glad you're here because we love you." Or maybe you try answering something like, "You can't go home now. You need help. You can't walk on yourself. You can't get your food ready. You need help. You can't live by yourself." Or maybe it's something like, "I'll take you home when I get off work. Don't worry. I'll come back and get you. I'll take you home when I get off work." Or maybe it's something like, "Well, your house burned down a couple of years ago and you've been living here ever since." Those kinds of answers to the question. I'm thinking a lot of y'all are going, "None of those sound helpful. I've tried those kinds of things. Those kind of things don't work." So maybe the question is something like, "You're stealing my money." Your parent accuses you of stealing their money. And so maybe you've tried explaining something like, "Well, no, I would never spend your money. I love you and you're my mom and I would never spend your money." Or maybe you say, "How dare you accuse me of spending your money? I have my own money. I'm not going to steal your money. I've got my own money." Or maybe you say something like, "Well, it's all going to be mine anyway. You've promised me everything. Why don't I go ahead and take some of it now, even though you didn't steal it? You've just gotten frustrated." Or maybe it's something like, "Well, it's probably my brother or it's probably the neighbor." Take a deep breath and let it go. Those kinds of answers, even though they're really common, they're not very effective and they don't really work. But take a deep breath because we're going to go back and work on what are some of the answers that might work, that you can try, that are much more likely to be successful. Let's try something a little different. Your client ask you for pain medicine and they've already had it. So someone comes to you and says, "I need my pain medicine." You know you've already given that person your pain medicine. It might be a client, it might be a family member. "I've already given you your pain medicine." If you try to explain, "I've already given you your pain medicine. If you take too much pain medicine, you might die. Your breathing might slow down. You're certainly going to get really constipated. You've had enough pain medicine. You don't need any more." Or maybe you try something like, "Here, look, this is where I document. This is my med sheet. This is where I checked it out. I logged it out. Here's the computer that says that I signed the medicine out. I gave it. I had you sign this paper saying, 'I, Melanie Bunn, received my pain medicine from this person on this date and time.'" Maybe you try saying, "This is drug seeking behavior. You are obviously getting too much pain medicine." Those kinds of things don't work. Maybe it's a little bit different and something that hurts your heart in a little bit of a different way. Maybe it's your spouse or your parent who's looking for her parent who died 20 years ago. So if you might try something like, "Well, your mom died 20 years ago. Don't you remember? Your mom died." I've had people try showing the family member the grave site, a photo of the grave, or try to explain that, it's been 20 years. She's been dead for 20 years. Maybe you try something like, "Well, she's at work and she'll be here when she gets off work. Or maybe you've tried something like, here, have a cookie. Many of us have tried many of these things, and these strategies, these approaches like telling people things that aren't the truth, they don't really work. The strategies like telling people the truth, or trying, we don't call it arguing because we don't call it arguing, but we in ourselves call it, I was just trying to explain to her. I was just trying to explain what the truth is, what the reality is. I was trying to help her understand what's really going on. So we try explain. Sometimes we try distracting the person by giving them something else instead of what it is they're asking for, that they want or they need. Or maybe we say we're going to ignore the behaviors that we don't want to reinforce. We're going to ignore those, and we're only going to pay attention to the things that are what we want to support and the ones that really make sense. And the problem is none of those strategies work. You might get away with them once in a while, but the problem is you're not meeting the unmet need. You're not really addressing, what does that person really want? What does that person really need? Now, the challenge is we've got to kind of separate what we can do and what the needs we can't meet and the needs we can meet. The needs we can't meet include things that really aren't possible. We're not going to bring people back to life. We're not going to have people go to a home that burned down 2 years ago. Some of these things we just simply can't do. We can't do some of those things. But what we can do, what we have the ability to do, is to connect with people and the ability to support them through those feelings. Because if you'll notice back, all of these scenarios have to do with an unmet need. I need something I'm not getting. I'm needing something that I'm not getting. And the best way to address this unmet need, which often has to do a lot with loss and feelings, is by connecting with the feelings. So we're going to spend some time talking about empathetic communication. Now, empathetic communication has 3 parts, and they're in order and a reason. 1, 2, 3. Some of y'all are going to try to go right to 3. That doesn't work. Some of y'all are going to try to do 2 and 3 together. That doesn't work. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3. So let's talk about those 3 parts. The first part is to really develop comfort in addressing those feelings and identifying them and saying to the person, Mom, you sound really frustrated. Dad, you sound really angry. Mrs. Jones, I know you're disappointed in me. I can tell this is not working for you. I'm so sorry. I know you're frustrated, you're mad, you're angry, you're frightened. I am so sorry that this is going on. That's your first part. Identifying the feelings and then saying, it shouldn't be this way. I'm so sorry. This is not the way life should go. Then get some more information. So that's step 2. Step 2 is to get some more information. And I use a phrase, my back pocket phrase, one of my back pocket phrases, tell me about. Tell me about your job. Tell me about your mom. Tell me about your pain. Tell me about. And then I listen to what the person has to say. I don't worry about talking as much as I worry about listening. And what I'm listening for are the pieces I can do something about. What I'm listening for are the ways that I can provide some support. So one way I'm going to provide some support is by reflecting back some of those things the person says. So if I say, tell me about your mom. Well, she was always a really good cook. Oh, your mom was a good cook. What was her best thing? Was it meals or was it sweets? And then we dig in, and now we're talking about mom and cooking instead of talking about where is mom. I can't do anything about where is mom, but I can do something about what the person is really needing. Because what do you need when you need your parent? What do you need when you need your parent? You need somebody to be on your side. Maybe you need somebody who really unconditionally loves you. Maybe you need somebody to do something for you, to take care of you. You know, what do you need when you need your home? I need a place that is familiar and safe and mine. What do you need when you need these things? When we think about that. And then the third step of this process is to move from talking to doing. Because even people who are very, very good at talking, even people who have a lot of words and a lot of language, it's instead of being limitless like it kind of is for us often, for many of us, it becomes kind of a more fragile resource. It becomes more it's more exhausted. So I can give you a certain amount of words or a certain number of words, but then it's kind of done. So for people living with dementia, they run out of those words. But before they run out of those words, we want to take an opportunity to move from the talking to the doing. From the talking to the doing. So what are some of the things we might want to do? We might want to do some of the things that that person used to, that are connected to what their unmet need is. So if the person is in pain, we want to try to do something that is helpful to their pain. Maybe offering them a choice. So your back is really hurting. Tell me about that. We talk about that. So would you rather try something cold or something hot for your back? So we can do something. Would you help me? Your mom was a great cook. I'm a terrible cook. Would you help me in the kitchen? So move from talking to doing. So those are those three steps. Identify and validate and support the feelings. Then tell me more, get more information using some of that reflection of the language. And the third one is move from talking to doing. So I told you we would go back and we would look at some of these challenges. So let's go back and look at them. Let's talk about the one your dad says you don't ever come to visit. Dad says you don't ever come to visit. And instead of trying to prove that you do come to visit, or instead of trying to get somebody to verify that you come, or pulling out that notebook, or just saying, well, let's go do something else, it doesn't matter. You know, so let's go back through those three things. So maybe dad sounds accusatory, or maybe dad sounds kind of sad. So dad says, you know, why don't you ever come to visit? That first step, those feelings and reflecting them back. So dad, it sounds like you're really sad that I'm not here more. You really wish I was here more. Well, yeah, I wish you'd come around once in a while. Dad, I miss you too. I wish I could be there more with you. Well, yeah, it seems like you're practically never here. I hate that. I'm so sorry that it feels like I'm not here enough. So then we move into the tell me more. So Dad, tell me about some of the fun times that we had together that were your favorite times. Oh, I remember when, and maybe you start some of those, not as a don't you remember, but maybe you start some of those with an I remember. I remember we used to go to the beach every year, and every year you would take me out just by myself, and we would go walk on the beach and look for shark's teeth. So you move into some of those I remembers, and you talk about those I remembers for a while. And when it gets to the point where the emotion is settling out a bit, we do a little bit of a transition. So Dad, I've got some shark's teeth that I was going to share with my kids, but I need to sort through them. Could you help me with that? Then we move into a doing. So that's how those three steps work. Let's try another one. They'll start to look more familiar as we go through them. Your client, or this could be a family member, tells you they want to go home. And instead of using the truth, which is you live here now, your house burned down, the truth of you need help. All of those things are true. Or a lie, which is I'll take you home when I get off work. Those things don't work because people living with dementia have dementia. They're not stupid. They can still tell when somebody's telling them something that isn't the truth. They can still tell that. So don't try to get away with it. They can still tell when you're telling them something that isn't the truth. Instead, try that empathetic communication. You don't want to be here. You want to be home. You're right. I don't want to be here. This is not where I'm supposed to be. You don't want to be here. This is not where you want to be. Tell me about your home. Well, I would never have tacky carpet like that. That's the ugliest carpet I've ever seen. You don't like our carpet. You're right. That is ugly carpet. I hate this carpet too. Well, you would think they would do better than this, as much money as we pay here to be. You really do. You know what? I want to ask your opinion about something. You are so good at colors and matching stuff. I have some samples. Would you come look at these samples and tell me what you think would be better? And now I still miss home, because don't you have days when you miss home? I have days when I miss home. But it takes away some of that, the intensity of the emotion. And now, instead of feeling like I don't belong here, and now instead of feeling like I don't have anybody here, now I've got somebody on my side. I've got somebody who gets that this is not the right place, but it's going to work with me to help make it a little bit better. Let's try another one. Let's try your parent is accusing you of stealing her money. This gets really painful for us as adult children because we would never steal somebody's money. But what happens is, for that person living with dementia, they're trying so hard to make the world make sense. I'm trying so hard to make the world make sense. And things aren't the way they're supposed to be. So what happened? Here's what happened. Those girls you've got coming in here, they're stealing things. So I take that money and I put it somewhere safe. If you never want to see something again, put it somewhere safe. That's what I always say. So that person living with dementia puts that money somewhere safe. Or they hear noises outside. Or they're living in a condo now and they didn't used to live in a condo. So they hear voices up there and people out there, people all around this place. I'm going to put my money somewhere safe. So that money is not where it's supposed to be. When that person goes back to the old memory of where the money is supposed to be, which might be in my purse, or it might be in a lockbox, or it might be in a secret place, I go back to that place and that money isn't there. Now, I try to make that make sense. If it's not there, and I'm very careful with my money, if it's not there, it means what? It means somebody came and got it. Somebody got my money. Who might have gotten my money? Well, nobody knows where my money is except you, the person I love and trust the most. So families will say, you stole my money. There almost has to be, in this one, there almost has to be a pre-step. So like a before step one, because that before step one is I have to take a deep breath and go, and I have to let go of how it hurts my heart, how it hurts my feelings, how it insults me that my mom would ever accuse me of stealing her money. I have to let go of all of that because I have to keep my focus on responding supportively to that person living with dementia. So let's go back to that first step. You are really frustrated. Your money is not where it's supposed to be. You're right. It's not where, and you took it. I know you took it. You feel like I took it because it's not where it's supposed to be. And you have always been so careful with your money. I am. I've always been careful with my money. You were right. Tell me about how careful. I remember, or I might move into an I remember. I remember how careful you always were with your money. I remember it was because how careful you were with money that we were able to all have really nice weddings. You were right. I saved money to make sure those weddings. Hey, Mom, I was looking for my wedding picture the other day. Have you seen it around here? I think look, there it is. You spent so much money on this photographer, and it was the best gift you ever gave me. You see that pattern. So we're doing feelings and then getting more information, whether that comes from a tell me more or whether that comes from an I remember. And then we're moving into doing something instead of talking. So let's go back and talk about that pain medicine one. The person says, you haven't given me my pain medicine. I need my pain medicine. You are still hurting, and I am so sorry you're still in pain. Tell me about where it's hurting. Well, if you would give me my pain medicine, I wouldn't have any problem with it. I am so sorry. I hate that you're in pain. You shouldn't be in pain. Show me where. Is it here? Is it the worst it's ever been? Is it more here, or is it more? Oh, it's right there. Oh, it's right there. Let me. Does rubbing it make it better or make it worse? Oh, rubbing it kind of helps. Okay, little circles or bigger circles? The bigger circles help. Well, let me do this a little bit. I've been working. Then we move into some singing, and then we move into some of those distraction kinds of things. That's where distraction works. Distraction and redirection are beautiful techniques. They're wonderful strategies here's the secret for using them successfully, when you do them at the right time. When you do them at the right time. And the right time is after you've made that connection through identifying those feelings, when you've gotten some more information through a tell me more or through an I remember, then you're ready to start doing some of those redirections or redistraction. Let's talk about our third one, because this is the one that often is really sad and hard. I want my mama, or I want my husband who was your daddy. I want my person. Where's my person? My person I need and I love. Oh, you're really missing your spouse. You're really missing your husband. You're really missing your mom. I'm so sorry. I've heard so many wonderful. Tell me about your mom. Well, she was never a very good cook. She wasn't a good cook. Did you tell her that, or did she know? Well, she would always make some stories about it. She had a good sense of humor about it. So did she try to cook, or did she buy? She kept trying. Bless her soul, she kept trying. Oh, so let me ask you, are you a good cook, or did you take after your mom? Well, somebody had to learn how to cook. It wasn't going to be her, and somebody had to learn how to cook. Oh, so somebody had to learn how to cook. So you're a good cook. Oh, let me ask you, could you help me with something? Because I think I'm a little bit more like your mom than I am like. Could you help me in the kitchen? So moving from the emotions to the memories. Tell me more in the memories to that doing something. So the 3 steps of empathetic communication will help you out of these complex situations. Will it be perfect every time? No, but nothing is. But give it a try. Give it a try and see what happens. Give it a try to validate those feelings. Give it a try to get some more information through a tell me more or through an I remember. Give it a try to move from talking to doing, and I bet you'll see some of those relationships connecting, some of those conversations, communications beginning to connect in a beautiful way. If you've got questions about empathetic communication, about how to answer some of these complicated questions, reach out to Dementia Alliance of North Carolina for more information, for more education, and thanks for being part of this program.